How can traders know what to do and still not do it? This is something that most traders will never figure out, and we know most traders actually fail. So it's a big problem. And if you want to break out of this terrible statistic of 95% of traders that fail, and you want to become a successful, profitable, consistent trader, this is something you must understand. This is the fundamental issue that is standing in your way if you are not there yet. So watch this webinar. It won't be very long, but I highly recommend you watch to the end because I'm going to tell you the 3 things that you must start fixing today. So let's get started. My name is Marisa. I am a trader and I'm a trading coach. So I only train traders on psychology and mindset. I don't teach you strategies because basically there's no point. I could teach you a strategy and you still wouldn't be able to trade it. But you can trade any strategy when you have the right mindset and psychology for a trader. So that's what I do in a nutshell. I'm passionate about trading psychology because it is the big difference. It is the thing that will stop you going around in circles on Struggle Street. Now, 5 years ago, I was still struggling big time. I just hadn't figured out how to get out of that cycle, and I was going round and round in circles, learning new strategy after new strategy, testing it, getting really excited about the results. And then whammo, I couldn't trade it. I couldn't trade anything, and I didn't understand what was going on. And my routine at the time was every day, so whether it was before work or after work, I worked full time and I traded in between. And I would walk down to this little park about 5 minutes from my house, and I'd walk around the park and just think through, trying to become positive and get back to try again, because every day I'd kind of, blown trades, blown profits I had before. Quite regularly, I was blowing accounts as well. And the thing that kept coming up in my brain was, how is this possible? I know what to do. I just can't do it. And it was astounding to me. How is this possible? It doesn't work like this in other areas of our lives. So I could know how to make a lasagna. Great. I just follow the rules. I don't suddenly start going, changing what's going on unless I'm a really good cook. But it's pretty easy to follow the steps and you get a lasagna at the end. Or I know how to play chess. I play it according to the rules that I know are there. But when it came to trading, I just couldn't stick to the rules. So it made me think. It made me very interested, one curious, then interested, then obsessed about this question. How can we know what to do and still not do it as traders? I'm going to tell you why. Because this is my passion. This is what I research all the time. I've spent the last 5 years passionately researching this. One, to solve it for myself, so that I could then become a trader. I'm now a full-time trader and a full-time coach. But also I was obsessed with trying to solve this for other traders. Now, I'm just going to put it out there. The answer is not easy and it's not simple. If there was a one-word answer I could just give you, oh, you just do this. It's not as simple as that. It takes longer because it needs you to realize certain things and to then change. And all of that takes about 6 months. So for me to distill something that's going to take you about 6 months to work through into one answer, it's absolutely impossible for me to do. But there are ways to start this process. And unless you start, you can never do the process. So I think the place to start is at the start. And it's probably the most important step you're going to take is to just make a start. So that's what we're going to do today. That's quite exciting. But I did become obsessed with what is the answer. And now that I have it, it still remains very difficult to get this across to traders that are struggling, because I know as a struggling trader how easy it was for me to choose to learn a new strategy. And there's a psychological reason why we believe for so long that it's not us, it's our strategy that's the problem. And that's because your brain subconsciously is built to protect you. So to go down the path I want to take you down now, you have to allow your brain to believe that let's go down this path. The problem is probably something you're doing. Your brain doesn't want to believe that, because this is painful. This is horrible. We hate to think that the problem is us. And that's why we jump to strategy, strategy, strategy. So it's very difficult to get traders down this path because your brain is against you doing this. And that's okay. I kind of like this challenge. I like the challenge of trying to reach traders and get them to stop jumping from strategy to strategy. It is very difficult, and I know it's difficult because I was there for very long. I was probably there for longer than I think most people. I just didn't want to go down this path. I didn't even know that this was a path, but in hindsight, I now know that my brain was just protecting me from it's quite a lot of accountability and responsibility to say, let me go down this path and start doing this work, because like I said, it's going to take about 6 months. Now, if somebody sold you a strategy and said it's going to take you 6 months to learn the strategy, you would say no. We can learn a strategy in a 2-hour training session. Then okay, we spend a few hours doing back testing, but it's fast. It's like it hits that instant gratification buzz that we get. So I get it. It's difficult to choose this path, but the reality is until you choose this path, you will stuck in a cycle. So if you keep jumping to new strategies and you're still not profitable and consistent, there's a point where you have to go. It's absolute insanity to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and not get a different result, because you're not going to get a different result. You're expecting a different result, but it's not going to come because you're doing the same thing. So with that being said, kind of excited for this webinar, and I do want to keep it short actually, because it's quite punchy now. Let's get to it. What is actually going on? Why can we know what to do and then still not do it? The answer here, now this isn't the solution. I'm going to tell you the 3 things that you're missing. Got them written down here so that I stay on track. There's 3 things that you are missing that you need to start doing today that's going to send you down this path to start improving the side of your trading. But the reason why we can know what to do and not do it is because of pressure. It's pressure, also call it stress, a stressful situation trading. Now, why is it so stressful? It's not because on the face of it, it doesn't seem like it should be stressful. It's a bit like playing a TV game or playing a game of chess. It should feel like that, like it's kind of exciting, you want to win, but it's not. You don't necessarily get that stressed out, or it's not necessarily such a pressured environment to do those things. And we think trading's the same, but trading has things on the line. One, there's money on the line, but it's not money that makes it stressful. The thing that makes it stressful is our subconscious need to be right. It's what's actually at stake here subconsciously is our egos. And fueling that ego is also a big reason why we jump to strategies as the solution, because we think if this could just be a intellectual activity, we can learn enough, then I can know more than you and I can do better. And we're kind of wired to be quite competitive. And the competitive streak comes from our egos. We all have egos. Now, if your ego is a little bit not that healthy, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, most of us as humans Ziggy, sorry, it's my dog. Let me get her. Okay. Be quiet. Come on. Let you be quiet. That's great. That's good girl. Most of us are egos. Most of us as humans, this is the bad news, don't have very healthy egos. Now, what does it mean? You might say, like, I've got a huge ego. I feel great about myself. But a lot of it is masked because those egos are actually very fragile. And this is something we really don't want to hear. A fragile ego makes our fragile ego even worse. Okay. But we have fragile egos. Why? Because from the day you were 5, now when you were 5, 4 or 5 at home in your family surrounding, most of us had great egos, very healthy egos. We were instantly happy. We were instantly playful. We were instantly confident. If someone said, "Can you sing?" Yeah, I can sing. Even if you sang badly, you didn't think that you did, and you would just belt out whatever off key, it didn't matter. You would give everything a go, okay? Our 4 or 5-year-old selves at home, safe in this little home, whatever your home was, it was still safe because you knew it. And after that, somewhere around that age, you go off into society. So most of us went to school. Maybe you went somewhere else, or that home situation got disrupted. But we went to places that suddenly weren't safe. There were schools or other places, so institutions, or where the wider society was. Now, that wider society tried to make us be like this, conform, fit into this mold. Usually it was the school system. And so if you made mistakes, you were told off. You were told that isn't good. If you talked in class, you're told you're bad. We had so much coming at us at a young age that it spoke to our egos and made us believe that we're not good enough, we're bad, we're just not good enough, basically. And that's where this fragile ego comes from. It's not that you have a fragile ego, it's that you lost your healthy ego. And most adults, when we come out of this entire system at about 18 or whatever, we go into adulthood with not very healthy egos. They're very easily offended, very easily hurt, very easily disrupted because of this system. And then we spend basically the rest of our adult lives trying to get back to our 5-year-old self egos, where we were just ourselves and happy to be ourselves. Very few adults are happy to be themselves. I'm not saying this at you personally. I'm saying this because 5 years ago, I had to confront this reality for myself. My little walks around the park and then going off to research in between. I did a lot of work. Maybe I should do a webinar one day going into everything I did. It didn't happen overnight. I spent a good 2-3 years working on this, researching it, because I had to figure out what to do first. Okay, so when someone works with me now, I've already figured it out, but I can help you implement it. You don't have to start from the ground up and actually figure out what to do. I know what to do, but you've got to implement it. That's the time that it takes. I had to figure it out because nobody was teaching this on the internet. After I figured out what I needed to do, I did find a coaching mentor who had the same, or was on the same wavelength as me and understood these things, and he helped me implement it. It's very difficult to implement it yourself, but I had to first go and find what on earth is going on. I had to go, why can I not do this? So I've done this research. Now, trying to get our egos back to our 5-year-old selves is exactly what we need to do ultimately, because trading triggers that fragile part of our egos in a way that is insane. It is so powerful But that is why you cannot cut losses, because you then have to admit that you're wrong. You don't want to you want to grab profits because you're scared of losing those profits, because then you are wrong. But you're also scared of it running higher and more profits, then you've lost those profits. That's why we jump into trades late. There is so much going on with you that makes it very, very difficult to be in a pressurized system. Okay, a system, an environment, a trading environment, as soon as you're with your chart, you're in a pressure system. Now, the other, a great industry to study, and it's a great industry to study because they're so transparent. Every time they make a mistake, it's actually investigated and then usually put out as documentaries, or you can get access to all of this research because it's such a transparent industry. But the airline industry is very aware, and they're aware of it because of crashes that happened, pilot error crashes, where they didn't blame the pilot. They said that pilot was in an already pressurized system and then had more pressure applied, and they lose their ability to multitask. When you're in a pressured environment, you cannot take in all the information. Your logical brain, basically, the blood flows away from it. So when we know what to do but can't do it, it's because our logical brains are not engaged, because the blood has just flowed away from there and to your emotional side. And that is why in a pressurized system like trading, you cannot follow your rules. So we've got to talk about what to do about it, because you cannot change this overnight, unfortunately, but it doesn't take that long. What's 6 months? If you can become a trader that's consistent, profitable, follows your rules in 6 months, it's nothing. That effort for the reward is nothing. But you have to be brave. You have to have the courage to do this, because there's a little finger that's coming and going, who do I blame? Who's, oh dear, it's me. And it's not you, it's just what's happened to you. Your ego needs to have some work on it, and that's hard for us to accept. Why? Because our egos, okay, it all comes down to ego. So it's a little bit of like a cycle. It's very hard to break. I hope you can understand how hard it is to break this cycle. But look, you want to be a trader. This is a profession, a skill set that's evergreen, gives you so much. Did you think it was going to be easy? But the hard part is identifying what you actually should be doing and then doing it. I know that we all think that, oh, all the work you do on the charts is the hard bit. It's not. That's the fun bit. That's actually the really fun bit. You think you're doing the hard work because you're spending hours, weekends, nights, all your time. You're sacrificing all your family time. You're sacrificing your entire life to spend your time at the charts. So you think you're doing hard, difficult work, but you're not. You're actually taking the easy way out. And I can't sugarcoat that message, unfortunately, because you won't make changes until you understand what you actually should be doing. So let me get to the 3 things that you can start doing today. Now, whether you have the courage to start this process, it's going to be up to you. And maybe it takes you 6 months just to decide to do it. That's still great progress. It's more than most people do. Remember, 95% fail. Okay? So it's up to you. Everything, your entire destiny is up to you. It's all in your little hands, your 2 little hands, which is exciting, I think. It's actually very empowering to know. Now, let me just check this is all still working. Cool. Okay. We are now going to get to the 3 things. Okay. How do you overcome this pressure system? How do you start? Okay. Because remember, underlying all of this is that that ego that you've got to get back to your 5-year-old self. That is going to take work. The best way to work on that is to do coaching with me. I don't actually have another answer for you. Yes, you can read self-help books about this topic. It'll take you a lot longer. You need someone to help you implement this work. I found someone for me that helped me over a series of months. I was very lucky to find this person. I wish there were more people like this in the industry so that you have more of a choice. But maybe look around. Maybe you do know someone that can actually help you. But you are going to have to find someone to just help you implement it for yourself, because it's very hard to see these things for ourselves. But you can start this process without help. I'm going to tell you how today. And just starting is going to start you on a journey. I promise you it's going to be worth your while just starting this. Okay, so there's 3 things. Number 1 is you need a system around your trading. So it's going to be a process, a routine, a system, a series of checklists. You need to kind of think of your trading like you're a pilot. Pilots, how they solve these crashes that were pilot error. There's very few crashes that are pilot error now. They still creep up, but then they find the gaps that they hadn't realized that was an issue. And what pilots have, what airlines have, are crew management systems. It's designed specifically to address the risk that the pilot is in. The pilot himself or herself is a risk in the cockpit. They're the ones that pull everything together and make everything work great. So they're the best asset, but the human side of them is the risk. And what they realized was if they didn't put a system around to help these pilots from being exposed to these risks, because it's health and safety for them as well. Pilots, remember, they're flying a plane with lots of people, or perhaps it's cargo, doesn't matter. It's a very expensive plane. It's got people in it. They've got the lives of other people in their hands. They've also got their own lives in their hands. They're not making these mistakes on purpose. So airlines were like, we've got to put something in place so that pilots are protected from themselves. And they call it a crew management system. There's a reason pilots have checklists. Takeoff, checklist. They put it out and they're like, all the checklists. I don't know that much about the checklists, but I probably know the landing checklist a bit more. Like, they're going to land. They'll be like, oh, we've contacted the tower. We've got flaps set, at certain levels. We're at this level. It doesn't make sense. Can we land from this level to that distance? Check. We've passed that point. We're okay for a stable landing. If they're too high at this point, they don't have a stable landing because they're going to have to come in too fast. You've got to be at a right height and distance to the runway to have a stable landing. If they're unstable at a certain point, they're going to be unstable because they're going to be too fast. And they have to, if their checklist says, oh, we're not stable, they abort the landing, they do a go around. But they don't leave it up to these 2 or 3 pilots just sitting there and one of them's like, yep, we're one of us will do it, or they have a checklist because they don't want to miss it, and they can't. There's so much for pilots to be focusing on. It is a pressurized environment. Yes, they do this. They know how to do this. They're trained. They're capable. They're experienced. But it remains a pressurized moment because there's a lot going on, and the stakes are very high. So they have a checklist. Your system, I'm just going to ask you, do you have checklists in place? Do you have routines? Do you have a system? I know it's just you sitting at your trading desk, but do you have a system, crew management system to manage you? I'm going to guess the answer is no. 5 years ago, I didn't have a system at all. I just jumped on the charts and looked for a trade. That's not a system. Okay. So this is where you have to take responsibility for your own business. This is your trading business. Do you have a system in place? You need to go and find a system, think it through, and start realizing where are the risks. At what point do you pose risks for your trading? Are you missing your entries? Are you where are you making mistakes? Put checklists around those things. That's how you start. Okay. Number 2 is that people that work in high pressurized environments have training. They get training. What for? To be professional. I know that you've studied charts, but that doesn't deal in any way, shape, or form with your professionalism, your behavior. You've had no training. So it's kind of bonkers. And I had to realize this 5 years ago in the park. This hit me like a brick wall, that I'm trying to do something that's a very high, like trading is one of the hardest, most rewarding professions you can do. But you're jumping into it with no training on the professional side, no training on how to behave, absolutely none. And then we're confused why we can't trade. You need professional development training. You need professional development training. We all work with people. Some are professional and some are not. You can tell the difference. And you've got to make this assessment. You don't have a boss at your trading desk. You've got to make the assessment for yourself. Are you actually behaving in a professional way or you're not? So you're lacking the training. You need to go and find some professional development training. And finally, the third one is an identity. It's an identity as a professional trader versus an amateur trader. Now, this one is hard because you've got to identify what your identity is. It's very hard for us to see ourselves, okay? So I get that this one is hard, but I'm going to throw it out there for you. I play tennis, and I'm not like a professional tennis player. I'm a recreational amateur player, but I identify as a tennis player. I identify as a recreational amateur tennis player. I belong to a club and I join the teams. I sign up for the teams and I go as a part of a team, and I go and play every second week against other teams. So I identify as a tennis player. It's my thing. It's what I do. When I go to the club, I take a racket with a dampener. I take balls with me. I have a tennis racket because there's some other things I need, and the water. I use a guard on my elbow. I'm prepared to be on court and play the best I can. I wear appropriate gear. I wear shorts or bottoms that can house a ball. So I've got a pocket. I can keep a ball in there while I'm serving. You need a second ball. When I arrive at the tennis club and I'm walking to my court, I'll wait for other tennis players to not be in the middle of a game before I cross their tennis court. You can call it etiquette, but it's about being professional while you're there, because I identify as a tennis player. So it's easy for me to go, what are the rules and how should I behave and how should I prepare myself to be on the court? Now, once in a while, just for fun, we take people that don't play tennis with us, and we'll just be like, oh, do you want to go and try it out, have a hit? These people, that's fine. Tennis is not their thing, but they'll turn up with a racket that just hasn't been regripped for 10 years. So it's sticky. The grip's almost off the racket. They don't have balls. They'll walk through people's courts and then be like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize this. You can just see their behavior is not aligned with being a tennis player. It's just not them. Now, you can have other things in your lives that you belong to, a club or a thing you do, and you abide by those kind of call them rules, etiquette, because you identify as that person. If you're a runner, you identify as a runner, so you do the appropriate stretching, you do and you get out there and you're going for runs because you identify as a runner. Now, someone that doesn't identify as a runner wants to take up running. It's going to be hard for them to do because they'll probably get one run out, like force themselves out the door, get that one, and then never do it again because it's so hard to overcome that it's just not easy for them. Trading's the same. You need to spend time identifying as a professional trader more and more and more. Not as someone that's trying to trade, not as someone that finds it funny when you're blowing accounts, not as someone that's a struggling trader. You need to stop that identity. You need to identify as a professional trader. And it's going to take you a while to get this identity and believe in your identity, but it's going to help you show up and follow the etiquette of trading. It's the best advice you'll ever get, and it's going to take a little while to implement. But if you identify, there's a little saying: if you identify as a pear tree, you'll produce pears. If you identify as an apple tree, you'll produce apples. It's very hard for a pear tree to produce apples. Now, I know this is a fable or a metaphor, and you need to think deep through it, but it's true. If you identify as a struggling trader, you will struggle as a trader. I'm going to leave you there. I think just remember, everything is in your own control. The best mental shift, best mental shift you can have is that everything is in your own control. You choose how you show up. You choose if you put a system in place. You choose if you have routine. You choose if you want to go and find the training to do. Everything is your own choice. You can make your goals of becoming a trader, a successful trader, real because it is all in your own hands. It won't happen overnight. So to think that this is going to just become easy overnight is not realistic. I can't tell you that it's going to be like that, but it's about starting the path and starting to think that everything is in your own hands. Guys, thanks for joining. Really appreciate you, and I hope your trading week is going well. There's a bit more volatility for me in my trades. There seem to be better trade setups now, so I'm kind of excited because February was a bit of a dud. But have a great week, and I'll see you next week again back here, the Traders Journal with Marisa.